You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on Kbla Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicole Corte, and really excited to be in conversation with a real life organizational culture strategist and executive coach. I think for a lot of folks who may be in transition, a lot of folks who may be leaving the corporate world, leaving the big organization to strike out on your own, people that are embracing the inner entrepreneur in them. You do not want to miss this conversation. I also want to make sure you pick up her book. It's called Shift, a transformational journey from playing small to unapologetically thriving. It focuses on helping high achieving women navigate workplace pressure and reclaim their leadership voice. But I think we can all learn from the very valuable gems in this book. Welcome, Dr. Nicole. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Talk to us about your origin story. What was happening in your life that gave you the experience that offered you some of the insights to begin to conceive of this book, Shift, a transformational journey from playing small to unapologetically thriving?
Yeah, so I'm one of those women who had checked off all the boxes, right? Done all the things that we are told or socialized that we're supposed to do. The degrees, the family, you know, buying a home, rising up the career ladder. So all those things that we're taught to do. Realizing that I was feeling very unsettled and feeling very restless because although I had done all of those things that I was socialized to do, I was still playing small in the spaces that I was in within the workforce. I had not figured out how to unmute my own mic and utilize my own voice and my own power. And I was also not necessarily living in alignment with those things that I said were actually important to me. And so as I was talking with other women who had done the same thing, I realized I wasn't alone. There were lots of us out there who had checked off all those boxes and were feeling out of sorts and feeling as though we were not living in alignment with who it was we actually wanted to be. That was the basis of really doing the research and writing this book.
Wow. I mean, I think there are so many people, so many of our leaders, learners, and listeners are tapped in right now and are hearing parts of their own story. I mean, we're
Yeah,
living in a time of disruption in so many different industries, disruption in our economy. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we were all finding a way to navigate some of the darkest days of the pandemic. Uh,
right.
and let's talk about how major moments like the pandemic, like the 2024 U.S. election,
Yeah.
what that can illuminate for us when it comes to figuring out our path forward.
That's a great question. And right now we're looking at more than 500,000 Black women in particular being displaced from the workforce. But it's really interesting because this started not just when Trump was elected, but it started during COVID. And two things are happening. It's really twofold. One, it's displacement, but it's also reclamation, right? The displacement are the involuntary terms that are happening in the workforce that we're seeing. The reclamation is women saying, you know what? This space was never built for me in the first place. And I see that now. So one of the things that happened with COVID is that women in particular started to see the cost to themselves of being in workplaces that were not designed for them. And the idea of going back into those spaces literally was shutting some of our bodies down. Like people were having visceral reactions to that. So a lot of women have voluntarily left the workforce, that reclamation, because they realized it wasn't for them. And they needed to do something that ensured that they were living in alignment with who they want to be and not just living by default. The
Mm.
other piece of that is the displacement. So we've seen many women being displaced involuntarily from the workforce. What's interesting is that there's power in both of these situations. In the reclamation, there's the power that one, you've already recognized that this was not built for you, or that you were not able to be fully yourself in those spaces. So you've already removed yourself, and now you're trying to figure out what next looks like for you. The power in the displacement is taking the opportunity to recognize and design by intention, not default, what you want your own next to look like. So we all have an opportunity right now to, by design, intentionally choose what the next part of our life looks like.
So Dr. Nicole, give us an example, because I know that you're not just the author of this book. You are a highly sought out LA-based executive coach
Yeah.
and organizational culture strategist. And so, give us an example of what that can look like, when, you are intentional about the design of what you're seeking in your career, what you're seeking in your entrepreneurial endeavor. Where do you start?
Yeah, so that's why I wrote the book. So the book really does look at, it's a framework and it is a roadmap for how do you get from where you are to where you actually want to be. So we
Mhm.
start out really by having to define our North Star. What is it that we want our next chapter to actually look like? Then we figure out where we are right now, and then we have to figure out how to close the gap. So the closing of the gap is where you really design how you do that. Oftentimes we do a lot of work, what I call reactive doing, right? So we know something's not sitting right with us. We know we need to be doing something differently, and we just get to work because that's what we know how to do. But it's very reactive, it's not intentional. And so the book is there to help you figure out who it is I want to be. That's my North Star. Where am I right now in relationship to that? And then what are the things I need to do to actually close the gap between where I am and where I'm trying to be?